When did you realize you don't really have friends? When I realized that none of them ever called or texted me. The only reason we still talked at all was because I would initiate convos with them, and sometimes they wouldn't even reply to those. I have made some friends now, but man, that really sucked when I realized it. When I was at my lowest and no one was available for a call or to take a walk with me, even if they lived 5 minutes away and were actually available. So I spent a lot of nights on a parking beach in my car just watching at the sea, looking the stars and crying for hours. When one of my friends was sleeping with my GF. Then when I found out, all the rest of my friends took his side because he was the weed hookup. Lost 5 friends and a GF in one day. I've never had close friends. Friends of convenience, friends of location, maybe. I don't know how to open up, how to develop a friendship. My 2 closest friends from childhood are now on very different life paths than me, so we are slowly drifting apart. It hurts sometimes, but being the introvert that I am, I just keep quiet. One day I wanted to hang out and realized I didn't have anyone to hang out with. Usually I enjoy doing everything alone, hiking, biking, camping, fishing, etc. And apparently I turned everyone down so often that nobody bothered asking if I wanted to hang out anymore, cause I always said I was going to do something else. I've started making more time to reconnect with old friends since then and am better off because of it. I deleted my social media and nobody talks to me anymore. I've always been awkward and quiet, but I don't dwell on it anymore. I'm learning to enjoy my own company, and if I have to do this life alone, I will be content. The 5th time they forgot to tell me they switched where they were having lunch made me question it. When we organized a trip to the movies and they forgot to pick me up was when it hit. When I turned on Facebook to see a photo of my entire friendship group holidaying at an exotic island without my having been asked. For the 2nd year in a row. I am a slow learner. When I got cancer in my 20s, I'm fine now. It's closing in on 6 years. For the first year there was a lot of sympathy. After year 2 it was like I didn't exist. One particular friend hurt the most because it felt like he was essentially saying it's as if I'm dead to him already. And then when I explained this to a mutual friend, it was just too emotionally heavy and I felt her pull away too. I feel like the people who consider themselves my friends now just check in out of obligation. When the only person who I believed liked me choked me out in the forest behind my school in 6th grade. Once I woke up, I saw she had brought a couple other kids who were talking shit about me and laughing. FK kids, man, they're cruel as shit. At the moment I sat there alone in times where I needed help the most. I was always there for those who I called friends, ripped my ass off to help them out in every shit. But then poof, I needed a shoulder to cry on and no one was there. Well, things changed over time. I think my now friends would be there, but I swore to myself to not rely on others anymore in no circumstances. Well, when I tried to tell them about my struggles and they either one-upped me, said that they didn't want to hear about my problems, or told me to just think happy thoughts and the sad feelings will go away instead of listening to what I had to say for once, instead of me always being the shoulder to cry on for them. So I said FK it and became a lone wolf, which includes making many acquaintances but no actual friends, so everything I tell people is surface level. An old close dear friend committed suicide and I found out a week or so later on FB from someone far removed from that circle. That made me run back through the last few years and the light bulb popped on. I'm old at 60 plus. I did well. Most of them have not. Maybe I came off as an asshole back when I thought being a tall poppy meant something, but we were all running wild back then, so who knows. 2 things I know. You can't go back and nobody or thing can make you happy. You hear it a million times but it eventually sinks into your bones. You have to find it inside. This was a long time ago, but I was in a band with my best buds when we were 14 and 15 years old. I lived for that band and hanging out with them. I ended up being hit by a car and broke my leg and hand. I couldn't play the guitar for quite a while and they kicked me out of the band. I was heartbroken to say the least. FK those guys. I wouldn't say I realized I didn't have friends. I think I just don't really know what a friend is. There are people I hang out with, people I don't, but it's always random. I call them friends, for lack of a real better or more correct term. Every time I ask how people know what/who friends are, they say that they just know, but I don't. It's weird. I've never been good at maintaining any relationships, including family and friends, so I guess I've kind of always known that I don't have any real friends. It really is my own fault at this point. I just imagine my future self living in a little cottage by the ocean with my future dog and becoming that weird old lady who lives alone and then just disappears one day. When my mom died, I planned every aspect of the funeral, but not one friend or co-worker came. The room was filled with close family and 50 plus of my sister's friends, telling her what a lovely service and reception it was. that I planned and executed entirely. Not even one person could be bothered to show up for me. Standing with my husband alone in a sea of people, grieving for the mom that I took care of for over 10 years, with no one there to tell me they are sorry for my loss, not hers. That was my moment. Yesterday was my birthday. Usually at my school people get shoutouts from a ton of people. I think I got 2 from people that I'm not even really friends with. The worst part is that I thought I'd get more. As for me, I knew that I changed my personality too much that even I started to believe that I'm not really me, and even after all that I realized that I was the one who always initiated the talk. They never asked about me, which when I started to think about it, it really saddened me. Also I realized that they never invite me to go out with them, which just like broke me as for what I had done for them, and that's what I get. When I realized that my only friends were just my boyfriend's friends and they weren't actually there for me like they are for him. Or when my best friend of 5 years didn't even ask me to be in her wedding, when she would have been my maid of honor whenever I decided to get married. Either one of those, honestly. I realized my group of friends loved to hang out with each other whenever they could, but barely talk to me unless they needed something. I left our group chat when they stopped responding to me, but responded to each other. Never heard from them again except for once, to ask me about why I quit a job so she knew if she should apply or not. I'm horrible at making friends. I love to hang out with people, but I'm afraid of being ignored again. When everyone wants to work with you, not because they enjoy hanging around or want to get to know you, but because you produce good work. I realized I was always the one reaching out, asking to hang out. So I decided to stop texting everyone first and see if they noticed. The next 2 years ended up being the loneliest time of my life. To avoid a long story, my brother threw a party 200+ people. As my birthday was 2 weeks later, I decided to give my while there already was one. Live music, snack corners, free shuttle buses, sleep facilitation, strippers, eating etc. Wrote invitations to at least 40 considered friends. Free pickup, free staying over the night, breakfast and €10 for infinite booze. Not even one showed up. Like zero. Something died in me that day and still hope that coincidence exists. I find myself frequently needing to talk about things, whether good or bad, and not having anyone to share it with other than my husband or my sister. Just overall being very lonely but not having anyone to call to talk to / hang out with. Also, when we were planning our wedding and I had a hard time coming up with guests that weren't family or from childhood friendships that had grown apart. I used to have a close-knit crew of guys I hung out with. In a video game. I mean, we spent years playing this game, most weeknights and every weekend night. The game slowly died and they all went to different games or just disbanded. I learned 2 things after that. I have no real friends and the internet is not a place to find them. I think it's worse realizing you can have all the casual friends in the world and still feel alone AF. I have a good number of people who I'm friends with, but maybe 3 I really want to do anything with or talk to. I just got out of the psych ward and nobody but my husband called me. Honestly, no one cared and my isolation contributes to my depression, so it's a self-perpetuating cycle. When I had an outpatient medical procedure under anesthesia, and they required that I be driven home by a friend or a relative, a taxi wouldn't suffice. No family within 1,000 miles, and it was a stretch to find someone who'd do it for me. I moved 3 states away and no one wanted to get together before I left. No one has even asked me how it's going and I've been gone a while now. Time to find real friends in my new town. When a family member asked me if I had any friends, I couldn't name a single person I would actually call friend. Just a bunch of acquaintances. I got so comfortable just doing things on my own I never really stopped to consider that there was no one I would / could call to do those things with me even if I had wanted to. I admit I felt pretty bad when I came to that realization. Like I hadn't known I was missing out on something until that question pointed it out to me. When I slowed down with the drinking and stopped hitting people up to smoke all the time, I realized that when I removed the drugs, I honestly didn't have much in common with a lot of my so-called friends. Also, when I stopped reaching out to people to see who would actually take the initiative to reach out to me, I realized that I really never had too many real friends to begin with. When I do hear from an old friend, it's always, "Why don't you talk to me anymore?" as though phones only work one way.